Charles Perrault is known for his disturbing fairy tales, albeit perhaps to my taste at least not as bad as Brothers Grimm. Still, he has his own style and a reoccurring theme. And one of those themes is parental desire, not in a good way. Welcome to Check That Book, a special place on the internet where we get acquainted with arguably the most disturbing, bizarre, unorthodox, you name it, content ever made. And by content, I mean stories, books, fairy tales, video games occasionally, and we take a look at some film adaptations to boot. So there's a lot going on here. You're welcome. And today we're going to take a look at a fairy tale called Donkeyskin. And although Donkeyskin has a happy ending, it's still one of the most unsettling classic fairy tales ever written. What's it about, you might ask? Well, I'll let my pal Buffkin recap this one for you.
Donkeyskin Girl, also known as Donkeyskin, also known as Askin, prefers to go by the name Faith. Poetic?
Buffkin, we don't need the commentary.
The story of Donkeyskin. There was once a great king with a beautiful queen. The queen grew ill and had her husband promise to only marry the most beautiful girl in the kingdom. After a long search, it became clear that the only woman in the land that could match her beauty was his daughter, Faith. She had a magic cloak made from the skin of her father's prized donkey that would hide her beauty so she could escape his kingdom. Eventually, she married a prince who could see past the magic cloak and knew her true beauty. And they lived happily ever after.
Obviously, you can see that the primary conflict is triggered by a father's desire to marry his own daughter, which, what the fuck? But again, it's kind of a reoccurring theme in such fairy tales. It obviously breaks down moral and social taboos, and we all love that in our disturbing fairy tale origins. Though the story frames this as a product of grief and madness, it still introduces those disturbing sexual undertones for a tale often told to children. Again, yes, it happened lots and lots of times in many other fairy tales that we've got acquainted with on this channel. By the way, make sure to check out the playlist that I'll leave in the description. Those taboo subjects were apparently not really frowned upon. Now that we look at the amount of disturbing fairy tales the way they originally were, apparently this was kind of like a norm. The princess has almost no power. Her father's authority and obsession do trap her, and her only escape is through disguise and self-erasure, symbolized by the filthy donkey skin. She must live in degradation and filth, literally covered in donkey hide and excrement, before being deemed, quote-unquote, pure or worthy again. This reinforces a disturbing message about virtue, proven through suffering and self-abasement. Later retellings soften the story, yes, but there's still this normalization of abuse, especially in the original, where the father's actions, they are not condemned. It's more like the story frames the ordeal as this trial of virtue. Of course, some modern interpretations view this as an allegory for puberty, separation from one's parents, and identity formation, Which, I mean, sure, if you have nothing better to do, you can analyze it like that. I'm not here to really go too deep into it. Just on the surface level, it's yet another one of those. Because there's a plethora. It's another one of those that kind of justify some questionable activities and don't really teach us much. And the more disturbing fairy tales I do on this channel, the more often I find myself questioning the very credibility of the lessons that they are supposed to teach. In short, Donkeyskin is a story about a princess who escapes her father's incestuous desire by disguising herself as a donkey. Just literally, she lives in this disguise and as a scullery maid in poverty until she's rediscovered as beautiful and pure. Because, well, obviously, according to Pierrot, as well as Grimm and other great, no questioning that, fairy tale creators, according to them, apparently, in order to live well and be appreciated, you have to suffer first. And you have to suffer a lot. But then again, many authors use this. And there's a theme here. While the story follows the fairy tale formula of virtue tested and rewarded, its themes of incest, coercion, and degradation make it one of the darkest tales in Pierrot's canon, and one of the reasons modern adaptations tend to handle the story with stylized surrealism rather than downright realism. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like unorthodox content, consider giving this video a boost in the form of an erect thumb and make sure to subscribe for more. Meanwhile, take good care of yourselves and your loved ones, ladies and gents, and I shall see you all as soon as possible. Cheers!